The woodcutters. He was headed back to his cave when he spotted a group of woodcutters. They were sitting around a fire shooting the breeze about the legends of their ancient ancestors. They were sapiens, dark-skinned and built like tanks. They were roasting some meat. The Neanderthal approached them, gave a submissive bow, and mimed the act of eating. The woodcutters had a silent huddle. Some winked, others curled their lips or just shrugged. The Neanderthal mimed chopping wood in exchange for their leftovers. The oldest guy in the group stood up, reached for the hatchet tucked in his belt, and handed it over. It didn't take long before the Neanderthal was back with a massive load of wood strapped to his back. The old-timer stepped toward him, bared his teeth in a sneer, and shooed him off with the back of his hand. The Neanderthal let out a sound, halfway between a frustrated whimper and a begging whine. The woodcutters all burst out laughing. The Neanderthal pointed at the wood and pounded his fist against his stomach. The woodcutters laughed even harder. The old man picked up a rock from the ground and hurled it with everything he had. A second later, 2 heavy streams of blood erupted from the Neanderthal's nostrils. The old-timer wrapped his hands around an imaginary chunk of meat and mimed eating it. Another wave of laughter broke out among the Sapiens, even more infectious than the last. The Neanderthal collapsed to his knees and slumped forward, clutching his mangled nose in his hands. He stayed face down in the snow for a full minute. He kicked and wheezed until he blacked out. By the time he came to, it was late afternoon. The face of the rather ugly man was hovering over him. The Neanderthal tried to get up once, then twice, but the vertigo sent him crashing back down on his ass. On the third try, propped up by the ugly man, he finally managed to stand. The guy struggled to lead him back, alternating between guiding him and dragging him toward the cave. The Neanderthal snorted up half-clotted blood. He spat out a glob so nasty it almost made the ugly man puke. When he woke up the next morning, the sun was flooding the landscape. There was a slight lightness in the air, like spring had finally arrived. "Get up," the ugly man said in his ancient tongue. The Neanderthal touched his nose and his hand came away bloody. A few drops hit his fur. He struggled to his feet, flailing his arms to find his balance. "We're going fishing," the ugly man said. Once they hit the river, the Neanderthal gathered some brush and twigs, piled them up, and lit a fire. The ugly man stepped away to take a leak. His bladder had been killing him for at least half an hour. When he got back, he found the Neanderthal looking triumphant. He'd speared a rainbow trout that weighed nearly 15 pounds. He immediately broke into a victory dance. Then he told a dirty joke. The Neanderthal, a playful glint in his eyes, started to say something, but shut up immediately. He couldn't even talk. His throat was clogged with the blood that had drained down from his broken nose. He sucked it back and after a loud, raspy throat clear, spat a reddish spray onto the snow. The ugly man used a scraper to slice into the trout, from the anus all the way to the jaw. Then he gutted it and tossed the innards. "I gotta take a dump," the Neanderthal said in his ancient tongue. He moved about 20 yards away. The turd came out in one go. It was solid, brown, and steaming, a real straight log. Suddenly a swarm of arrows rained down from the sky. The Neanderthal scrambled up and yanked his fur back on. The ugly man lay there gasping, eyes wide. The arrows had nailed him dead on, wrecking his face. He looked like a grotesque voodoo doll. As for the Neanderthal, if he'd held that dump for even one more minute, he'd have been on his way to meet his ancestors in the afterlife. A second volley of arrows took to the air. For a moment they seemed to hang there. Then they plunged. Nothing left to do but haul ass. The Neanderthal ran like a madman, forcing himself to stretch his stride. He tripled his effort until he finally cleared the firing range. If you're wondering who turned the ugly man into a pincer vent, it was the woodcutters.